is 7:30 exactly Central African Time. Ladies and gentlemen, today, November 13, 2017, these are the major headlines of the newscast by Gauthier Perchano.
In Somaliland, thousands of voters head to the poll to vote for the president. Remember, he declared its independence from Somalia in 1991. In Senegal, the government has chosen as a means a TV reality show in order to boost young Senegalese in agriculture.
Ladies and gentlemen, once more, welcome to the 7:30, your English newscast on Label TV, your Pan-African channel. We open this edition with this story about presidential critic of Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, who has been in prison together with her sister and mother since September 22nd over charges they describe as politically motivated. The details are with Georgina Mpiga.
Diane Rwigara is 35 years old and was disqualified from running against Mr. Kagame during the August presidential election. She is charged for insurrection during her bid to run for president for promoting sectarianism and is also charged with her sister Anne Rwigara and her mother Andeline Rwigara for evading taxes of nearly $6 million. The civil rights group African Great Lakes Action Network, in short AGLAN, has started signing an online petition demanding their release, which is up to 3,000 people. By the way, the Commissioner General of Rwanda Revenue Authority, Richard Tusabe, threatened that if they had not paid the tax by the end of November, they shall begin to put their properties on the market. Also, the authorities have closed down their company and have proposed a payment plan of 12 months to renege on the decision to auction. Anne Rwigara told the court that they had been tortured, deprived of food, and is being forced to sign a payment plan, which they do not agree with.
Furthermore, 7 people were killed and around 20 others were injured in a grenade attack on peace concert and reprisal violence in the Central African Republic's capital, Bangui. We listen to Gauthier Perchano.
The riverside city has in the past been a flashpoint for interreligious violence that erupted between Muslims and Christians in 2013 and has since engulfed most of the impoverished landlocked nation. Interior Minister Henry Wenzetlingisara said 2 individuals on a motorcycle approached revelers attending a concert organized to foster reconciliation and social cohesion late on Saturday night and threw a grenade into the crowd. Following this heinous act, we have registered 4 deaths and 20 wounded, including 4 who are in serious condition and have been taken into the operation room, he said. After the attack, heavy gunfire erupted and concentrated in Pekasenk, a neighborhood located 5 kilometers away from Bangui. Access to the very neighborhood was blocked off by improvised barricades on Sunday, a regular transporter witnessed. 3 of our youth were killed, apparently in reprisal because they think that the Muslims were behind the grenade attack. We deplore such an act, said Pekasenk resident Habib Souley. We set barricades to ensure that people with the same intentions don't infiltrate our neighborhood, he added. A second Pekasenk resident and a security source who asked not to be named confirmed that 3 motorcycle taxi drivers were killed in retaliation for the concert attack.
As announced in the headlines by Gauthier Perchano, thousands of Somaliland voters went to vote in the 3rd presidential elections ever since. Remember, it declared unilateral independence from Somalia in 1991. Piga Georgina gives us more information.
A petition was filed at the Supreme Court by the Somaliland Human Rights Center to stop social media this Monday morning. The National Electoral Commission said it was necessary to block social media to avoid rumors until after the declaration of results. This country is the first African country to use an iris recognition biometric voter register for the first time during elections. The International Election Observation Mission, in short EOM, has deployed 60 international election observers from 24 different countries funded by the British government to ensure a good election. The 3 candidates running in for this post are former Minister Musbihi Abadi, veteran politician Faisal Ali Warabi, and the former Speaker of the House of Representatives Abdirahman Mohamed Dulahi Iho. These 3 marched on Saturday, holding holding hands to call for peace during this election. This 2017 election is touted to be the first incident-free polls to be held in the Horn of Africa in many years.
From Somaliland to Cameroon, administrative authorities and forces of order have lightened security following the brutal murder of 4 gendarme officers on duty in the northwestern region of the country. The situation that sparked in November 2016 keeps on creating news despite the measures put in place by the government of the country. The Minister of Communication, Issa Ichiroma Bakari, castigated the attacks perpetrated by terrorists. Elise Kenibeni, our correspondent in Cameroon, reports.
A curfew has been imposed once more by authorities in the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon. The governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalia-Bilai, has signed on November 10, 2017, a decision to ban the circulation of motorbikes beyond 7:30 p.m. and, among others, the use of firearms for hunting activities and traditional ceremonies as often practiced in that part of the country. The decision of Mr. Okalia-Bilai comes after the brutal killing of 4 gendarme officers on duty in the Northwest region. Gendarme Major Jolie Bienvenu, Chief Warrant Officer Himna Dieudonné, Sally David, gendarme student, and the soldier Yaya Emmanuel were brutally murdered by groups of assailants as outlined by the Minister of Communication and spokesperson of the government of Cameroon. Issa Chiroma Bakari, in his outing last November 10, condemned firmly these terrorist acts. He said the government is determined to crush down the enemy who has launched attacks against the state. The Minister of Communication equally said the secessionist has just declared war on the Republic from the moment when attacks are perpetrated against the institutions responsible to ensure the protection of the population. However, double efforts and security has heightened in the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon as calm and peace are expected to return for the well-being of populations.
From Cameroon to neighboring Nigeria, this time in brief and images, Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote's foundation, has pledged to invest US $100 million over 5 years to tackle malnutrition in the worst-affected parts of Nigeria. Dangote made the pledge at the just concluded Global Nutrition Summit 2017 held in Milan, Italy. The event convened governments, international agencies, foundations, civil society organizations, and businesses to accelerate the global response to malnutrition, an underlying cause of nearly half of all global child deaths. The Global Nutrition Summit is the global forum of the United Nations Decade of Action on Nutrition. This year's edition was held in close partnership with a number of international stakeholders, including the UK's Department for International Development, in short DFID, the World Health Organization, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the International Coalition on Advocacy for Nutrition. We now talk about this story. We move to economy as we talk about Ghana, who hopes to earn billions of dollars from oil exploitation to boost its economy thanks to a court outcome that ruled in his favor in a maritime dispute with his Ivorian neighbor. The details with Giovanni Ondamba.
Ghana has been producing black gold on a large scale since the year 2010. After the discovery of offshore deposits, known as the most important in West Africa 10 years back, a turning point that allowed a revival of growth propelling the West African country to the rank of emerging economy and aroused the interest of foreign investors. Nevertheless, the Golden Nation aims at reaching 80,000 barrels a day through the commissioning of new wells within 2 years, while the so-called 10 fields, which are part of the Tano Basin, contains reserves estimated at 3 to 4 billion barrels. Meanwhile, the economist Theo Achampong thinks that as the current price per barrel is $55, the fields operated by the Turo company in the Tano Basin could yield up to $160 billion, even if the billions expected from the exploitation of new deposits will not necessarily result in the economic recovery of the country. As a reminder, the Ghanaian oil exploitation was stopped 3 years ago when Côte d'Ivoire accused Ghana of conducting offshore drilling into its territorial waters. After unsuccessful negotiations, the case landed before before the International Tribunal for the Law and the Sea, which finally declared Ghana has not violated Ivorian sovereignty.
Now, let us once more talk of this mysterious murder of 3 children in Cameroon by their father. It is exactly 1 week after the arrest of the presumed murderer who took refuge in the Swiss embassy after killing his children, 1 boy and girls. Our correspondent Elise Kenimbeni investigated to the matter, and she reports in this story.
The tragic incident that occurred at the Koningui neighborhood in Yaoundé is still one of the issues discussed by many. People are inquisitive, they wish to know what really prompted such an act, but several questions remain unanswered due to the non-communication of administrative authorities and the judiciary police in charge of the case of Yves Michel Setane, the presumed murderer. The house they say as Bertry is closed. There is no movement as we observed for the past days. The neighbors living nearby are speechless. No one is willing to exchange because of fear. But from reports, the judiciary police in charge of the case has been conducting investigations around. Though the entrance to the Central Region's Divisional Judiciary Police is restricted, I had an exchange with the senior commissioner of the police where the case has been filed. The latter says he is not mandated to give any information on the issue. The murder reported on November 2, 2017 taps minds since the mother of the 3 children is still nowhere to be found. We met with a psychologist for a possible explanation on the situation.
The first question is this father have it a mental pathology or not? To answer of this question, it's necessary to examine the patient. We can't give a clearly answer about this act. What is necessary to understand is that when somebody is suffering about a mental disease, it can explain that kind of act. If it's proved that it's sick, he have to receive medical and psychological assistance.
As investigations unfold at the level of the judiciary police, the case, which from our sources has been classified amongst the most confidential by the prosecutor of the administrative center, is keenly scrutinized. Yves Michel Setane, 28, is said to be bearing the Swiss nationality since the age of 9, when he left the country. The man, who is now nicknamed the Swiss murderer, has not yet disclosed clearly the reasons which brought him to commit such an atrocity. The cellular phone of Yves Michel Setane, expected to guide the police to some parts, is still locked. He has refused till now to collaborate with the police in order to elucidate the murder case.
Now let's talk about agriculture, how to boost the agricultural sector and more especially the youth towards agriculture. This is a TV reality show which is created and chosen as a means to boost agricultural sector of the youth by the Senegalese government. Watch and listen to Giovanni Ondamba.
In Senegal, 32 young people are partaking the first Senegalese TV reality show on agriculture. The Farm Factory is broadcast on a Senegalese public channel. They are currently working in a farm in the Joal region, a 3-hour drive from the capital in the west of the country. They come from different parts of Senegal, and some come from farmers' families, but the majority are urban youth. 34 episodes in total of 26 minutes each show to viewers every Sunday on the program. For these young farmers, an alarm clock rings at 6 a.m. each morning. Then the day begins with a masula preparation. It is then in the field that candidates must do their best. Despite growing growth, Senegal continues to have high rates of unemployment. The rural exodus and illegal immigration have not ceased to be their portion. Meanwhile, agriculture contributes about 14% of the country's GDP and could be breeding ground for jobs. Yet many young Senegalese believe that the profits from working the land are not enough to make a living. The Farm Factory, conceived in partnership with the state, aims to change society's view on agriculture and to inspire young professionals to turn to this sector.
champêtre et élevage sont seule motivation.
Time for culture. In this newscast, the International Book Fair is a cultural and purely African event which is held in Togo this week. The aim of this fair is to promote Togolese culture and more globally the African culture. We listen to Thibaut Otongo.
African history and culture celebrated in Togo during a book fair held in the country, an opportunity for Togolese government to promote African culture at large. The importance of documenting the African heritage is at the heart of his work, as the Congolese writer Lenda Rudi Masamba focuses on the connection between today's world and the ancestral era. The ultimate dream of the writer is to see all sons and daughters of Mother Africa being able to be educated in local languages, as it is the case in Japan, China, or Senegal with the Wolof.
Dangay lan?
Damay jàng Wolof.
Nan nga tudd?
Binta.
Binta, ñaata at nga am?
18.
English and French, both modern languages and not spoken by many African ancestors, could be a major hindrance to smooth learning at school by many young Africans, for whom these colonial languages are simply a pet hate. Local languages therefore appear to be the key to efficient learning in school, but a question remains: how long will it take before African governments boldly decide local languages are compulsory and main languages for education in school?
Time for sporting news. Morocco and Tunisia qualified on November 11 for the 2018 World Cup in Russia by snatching the two last qualifiers for the Africa zone. Watch the details.
Tunisia, on the other hand, dominated Libya but had to settle for a small draw this November 10th in raids, enough to qualify, especially since the DRC has triumphed on its side 3-1 against Guinea. Any Libyan goal would have been catastrophic for Tunisia. Morocco and Tunisia joined Senegal on the plane for Russia, which qualified on the 10th November by beating South Africa 2-0. Nigeria and Egypt had already validated their ticket before.
This newscast was produced thanks to the hands of all the members of the English newsroom and the technical staff of Label Television. We thank you for watching and we thank you for choosing us to inform you. Next rendezvous of the information tomorrow, 12:30 exactly Central African Time. Thank you, good night and goodbye.